Okay, it's 4 o'clock, so welcome to the Woburn Traffic Commission meeting on Thursday, September 19th at 4 p.m. I call this meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone in the room, this meeting is being recorded, so please turn off your electronic devices, silence them. Lindsay, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Cashel.
Here.
Commissioner DeMambro.
Present.
Commissioner Duran. Absent. Commissioner Jolly.
Here.
Commissioner Rayum.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Soccerellis.
Here.
Commissioner Stokes.
Here.
Chair Papalato.
Here. Could I get a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the last meeting on June 20th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been passed.
You have to call it to vote. It was a motion.
Oh, I'm
and a
sorry,
second.
roll.
Yeah,
Sorry, Lindsay.
just all in favor.
So we have no old business on this
No,
agenda?
you-
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry. There was no vote. Can you just say all in favor for people to
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion has been passed.
Do you want me to read this, or did you want to read?
Yep, go right ahead.
There's no item under old business. Under new business is a request for 20-minute business parking limit from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday near 77 Wynn Street.
So is the petitioner in the room? Would you come to the microphone, state your name and address, and give us a little briefing on what's happening here?
How you guys doing? I'm here for Serene. She's my wife. She couldn't come here today because there's a dog that somebody's picking up and he's late, blah, blah, blah. So I'm here to represent her. And the reason why I'm
Can you
here
just
is,
state your name?
my name is Augustino Fiola. I am the husband of Serene de Fonseca, who runs that business. So, I mean, I've been helping her out, and what happens is people park over there, and it's only like about 32 feet from driveway to driveway. They squeeze two cars in there that they have no, people coming out of the driveway almost can't see. It's dangerous, right? But and they'd leave it there for like weeks on end. There was a car there, a truck there with a for sale sign on it for over 3 weeks. I had the landlord, because it was sticking over the driveway. People couldn't even, like, even if you park in the driveway and you want to come out onto Wynn Street, which is a lot of traffic, you know, it can cause an accident. So I'm like, 20-minute parking for her because she does a drop-off and delivery. That's what we're asking. So, or even whatever, something to eliminate that problem. Because she's trying to do a business there. And I could understand if somebody parked the car there, and the next day they go to work, the car's gone, because you could see all the open spaces on Wynn Street, right? But no, they park there like that. Look at it, it's overhanging the driveway, right? They park there like that, and they just leave them there for like days and days and weeks. The garbage, we had to pick up garbage every week, because the garbage man have a hard time getting the garbage. They all put it in the front of the cars. And there's like, look, there's almost no room. At least one car, you know what I mean? That's all. And it's hard for her to do business like on a drop-off and delivery business in a little store like that, with cars always parked in front of there. So we ask if we can do something. I mean, I don't know how to word it, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 minute, 1 hour, whatever. At night, I don't care. I mean, they can stay all night, But during the day, those two spots, if you drive by there during the day, they're always full. And always the same car. They even drew a line in the middle. Somebody drew a line like it's their parking spot. You see the little line there? It's not a water line.
I'm actually, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the same photo on my phone here. I mean, so it appears that that length of space handles two, what you can consider compact SUVs maybe, or that's a sedan and SUV.
I mean,
If it was
usually
a
when
big
you,
pickup truck, it would probably.
from what I know, excuse me, when you park a car in somebody's house, in the front of his house, right?
Yeah.
You should leave at least 2 feet on both ends of that driveway. I mean, it's kind of a state law. You know what I mean? You don't just button it up right to the driveway where it ends, or overhang it. I mean,
Can I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to address some of the stuff. I read up on the file for the permit that was issued, and there's a lot of discussion, and your attorney at the time, who's now the city solicitor, wrote a letter regarding the conditions of approval, and, this was not going to be any type of business that would interfere with what's going on out in the street. It's a public right-of-way. All the businesses up and down Wynn Street, people park and go into the business, whether it's a hardware store or any of the other office buildings across the street from yours, any of the food eateries. If there are spaces available, they're open to the public. If somebody has to park on a side road and it's illegal parking for them to, park there and then walk their dog to your facility, that's how the business is supposed to be conducted. If we start reserving spaces in front of businesses for that particular business throughout the city, we'd have chaos. I mean, just imagine Main Street. If all those parking spaces, every one of those eateries down there wanted those parking spaces just for them and nobody else, we'd have no parking, no open public parking. So, reading through the file, I don't see it.
I mean,
Yeah, you guys would like to have your own drop-off parking spot.
Which we do. We have to, right next to the building there,
Yeah,
on the right side.
off of the right-of-way.
Right.
Well, that's.
We have that.
We don't have
But-
any control over that, other than that's what the conditions of approval, but on a public right-of-way, reasonably speaking here, put your feet in someone else's shoes.
Oh, I understand. I
Business.
understand, absolutely, I understand. I park on the street too where I live, so I know where this is all going. But that spot should be just for one car, really. It is really difficult to put two cars in there. It's 31 feet. Today's cars I'm in the auto body business. I know my cars. Today's cars are 16 to 20 feet long. So how do you put two cars there?
Mr. Chairman, I would go along with that one. If that's the issue we're dealing with, and not posting, an exclusive parking spot on there, fine. One parking spot instead of the two. Because what you did say earlier about the driveways,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta get in and out, and people have to see. So,
Okay, thank you.
is that the solution?
Any other thoughts here?
Well, is it enforceable through the police department if they're blocking a driveway for
But if
safety?
they're blocking a driveway, of course, yeah, and then obstructing the driveways, there's issues as well. And, I'd have to take a ride by there as it's happening to actually see it. In that case there, it looks like the car in the back, the darker colored car, is blocking to some extent that access. So that could be ticketed. Yeah, I mean,
Would you suggest that the owner call maybe when that happens?
yeah, they have to make us aware of it, obviously. so
Yeah,
I mean,
see that red truck right there? That was parked in front over there, overhanging about 18 inches, and I did call the police on it, and they were by, the guy looked at it, and he says, well, let's give him, another 24 hours or whatever, the time difference. And it was sitting there for sale sign in the back, in front over there, for like 3 weeks. So I had the landlord call the number that was on that truck for sale, and the owner answered, and they told him, listen, you gotta move this truck, it's not a for used car lot, you can't just leave it there for 3 weeks overhanging in my driveway. And look where he put it. Why didn't they put him over there? I don't get it. I don't get it. But, whatever. She's just trying to run a business, that's all, you know what I mean? And you're having cluttered areas, really, really. One car I can understand, but having like two cars like that, in such a small area, I don't
Mr.
think it's
Chairman,
good.
just to-
I don't
just
think
to
it's
say,
safe.
So all you want is just one space?
One space.
And not a reserved space?
I don't run with reserve, I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, how does the committee feel about putting a sign there that says 1 hour parking between the hours of 8 and 6, or 6 AM to 6 PM?
Even 2 hours, at least it gives them an
I mean,
incentive
you
to
still
move the car.
have, you still have the option to park there, but what aggravates me is the fact that somebody took the time to illegally mark the street and make it some sort of a parking spot. And that's a no-no right off the rip. So that's why I would be in tune to think that if you put a sign there, just like we did over on Main Street down near Giovanni's, we put the signs all the way down, you know, with a time limit on parking, but during daylight, you know, business hours. So you're really not restricting parking in any way, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but, you know, through the course of the business day, so that, you know, people have the opportunity as well to utilize that as a spot, and it's not just taken up, like the gentleman says, for, you know, days or weeks on end.
Yep.
Thank you.
Counselor?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with putting a time limit on that space. I mean, I do agree with turning it into one marked space, but putting a time limit on it, you have 3 multifamily houses right there. You know, so sometimes people are gonna have to park in the street, and what are we gonna tag them, you know, after an hour expired? That I don't agree with. I do agree with the one, making it a one parking spot, but not putting a time limit on it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just curious, are those all common driveways, or are they
Yes.
two-way or one-way?
Yeah, they're all common driveways, yeah.
So everybody shares,
So that house on the right side shares that driveway there with the house in the middle. There you go. And it goes all the way, and they have a back where they park. And then the people that live in the greenhouse have a back where they park this way. You know what I mean? And the blue house has a huge lot on the other side. I don't know how many people live there, but you can park like a bunch of cars there, even against the side over there, and they don't utilize the whole thing. They just parking them in the street. And, you know, I know that that's the house that some of those cars are parked there, are using that space. But
Okay. So what is the
They're
will,
right.
what is the will of the board here?
Well, I would just add, if you put a time limit on one spot there, and then the other businesses are gonna start asking for time limits in front of their business, like the hardware store and
Open it,
stores
can of-
further down the street, the convenience store, et cetera. So it kind of opens up a can of worms, so to speak. I would be in favor of making out just one spot, marking it as such, so we can tag if cars are overhanging.
one spot would be perfect, I think.
Okay.
makes sense.
You know what I mean? It makes sense.
All right. So can we put that in the form of a motion?
I'm not sure, could we change the petition on that, Lindsay? Is that,
Well, it doesn't, you can do a motion, I don't think marking the spot changes the zoning, changes the traffic code, so I think you guys could vote that in, with one reading. If it changes the traffic code itself, then you need to have 2 readings on it, and then go to city council. I don't remember the last time you guys marked a spot, to be honest with you. I don't know if maybe engineering, I don't know if you have to,
Well, I think if you mark one spot, I think everybody on the street's gonna be looking for the same thing at some point. Do we mark the whole street?
well, I mean, there's some safety concerns there with the driveways, we could,
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. If, you know, now that I'm more aware of the situation, I can check on it on a daily basis, but if they are overhanging, blocking any, you know, obstructing the view, so I think it's a safety issue. I do think it should be one spot there.
I actually measured it today. It's about almost 32 feet, give or take.
Is it the same cars that park there all the time?
Today, it was gone. It was a blue car that parks there all the time. I mean, it was over a week and a half, it never moved. Now, these are two totally different cars.
I would think if he gets one ticket, he probably will stop doing that.
Do people know it's even a business? Like, I wouldn't know.
Well, you know, now it's got some signage, it's a little
Okay,
bit,
okay.
a little more prettier.
I'll have to pay attention.
But it's hard to see too, you know, because the building is low. When you put a couple SUVs over there, people are gonna drive by, they don't even see you, you know? So it's really hard to do business. But usually, like, if you put one car there and there's a little left over, somebody can pull in, grab their dog and see you. It would be ideal for everybody, you know?
If we can't mark a space out, then we can yellow out the curbing up to on both sides of what we would consider a space, and make it the legal size of the vehicle that we would normally do under a traffic code. Just make sure that the rest of the street that's yellowed out up past it, heading towards Burlington, is also yellowed out a little bit, be recognizable.
Chair Papalato,
Yes?
do you want to mention the DPW?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, the DPW Superintendent, Jay Duran, had come back, and he said they'll look into the matter at 77 Wynn Street and comment for the following meeting. So, we can either go ahead and push it into the next meeting, or we can make some kind of motion and pass it in place. Go ahead.
Well, the DPW is going to look at it now, and like we said, Sergeant Stokes is aware of it. Should we maybe see how that goes over the next month? And see if there is a ticket written, if that improves the situation, if someone is overhanging the driveway, see what the DPW comes back with. I'd imagine DPW engineering to remove that illegal line should be done probably ASAP, but then see how it progresses over the next month.
I agree with that.
And then we have a couple ideas. I like the yellow curb idea, I like the one
Yeah.
space idea, but it's kind of like you said, a slippery slope with adding
Okay.
spots on Wynn Street.
So we want to make a motion to lay this on the table for the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to lay it on the table for next meeting pending DPW and the Woburn PD's observations over the next month.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we'll bring it back to the next meeting. We'll get another opinion on it from the DPW superintendent, and hopefully make a decision at that
Thank you,
point.
guys.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda we have is a request for street sign extension for a Williams Court to 11 Williams Court.
Okay, so there's been a lot of backdoor discussion on this with emails and conversations, so at this point, I'll turn it over to Lou DeMambro, and you can kind of update the group on what's happened.
So, as part of your packet, you're going to see that there's two photos, one of which is for 9 Williams Court. The other one is for 11 Williams Court. The problem with the situation down there is Williams Court comes off of Merrimack Street. It's a right or a left off of Merrimack, and you go down, and it looks like it's a dead end, but it isn't a dead end. There's an easement on the left at the very end of Williams Court that will bring you to 9 Williams Court, and the easement goes through 9 Williams Court to 11 Williams Court. That's how 11 Williams Court gains access to their property. The problem is 9 Williams Court owns about 4.5 acres on 3 sides of 11 Williams Court. The 4th side is conservation property. So the matter of installing a sign at the end, technically, it's not an extension of Williams Court. It's an easement to 11 Williams Court. So when I've asked the DPW superintendent for a sign that says Williams Court, hang a left, he's against it because it's private property, and it's an easement to another parcel of private property. So technically, it's not the city of Woburn's road or access point. So my bone of contention, though, is it's an elderly woman that lives at 11 Williams Court. I've spoken to her niece at length on the phone. We've emailed back and forth several times. I kind of feel for this situation because the woman that lives at 11 Williams Court is an elderly woman. She lives by herself. She's widowed. It is a substantial distance off of Williams Court to get to her property. And again, 9 Williams Court surrounds her property. And as well as there's a lot of material, old boats, vehicles, and debris on the property at 9 Williams Court that makes it so it's a little bit difficult to get down there with just an average size vehicle. That's one concern. The other concern is this woman's not getting her mail. She's not getting her deliveries. Amazon, so on and so forth, FedEx, they keep saying non-deliverable because they can't seem to figure out how to get to this address. So in speaking with Superintendent Duran, he has made the suggestion, as well as you have it as part of your packet, it's a private matter, and to have 11 Williams Court have a sign made and installed somewhere on the end of Williams Court to say, 11 Williams Court, take a left, through some overhanging trees and down this little dirt path. I mean, my concern is with this, again, there's an elderly woman way back up in the woods, and I hope and pray we can gain access to her if she ever needs it, emergency services of any kind. And that's why I am asking that this could possibly be worked out through the DPW, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen because it's a private matter.
Chair Papalato?
Yes?
The petition, the committee does not have that email. It was just directed towards a couple people. Would you like me to read it into the record?
Yep, go
That
ahead.
portion? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
please.
Yep.
From Jay Duran, the DPW superintendent. Street sign for 11 Williams Court is a private matter. They should get a sign made and appropriately located for delivery drivers to view. This may include cleanup of brush and overgrowth at the driveway entrance. It should not be located in the public way, as we have been advised repeatedly by past council.
Okay, so that's the superintendent's position on this. Any other thoughts that want to surface?
Is
ahead.
Williams Court public or accepted, Matt? An unaccepted street, the whole length.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yep. So if the DPW superintendent doesn't have a problem with someone putting up a sign that's mentioning both 9 and 11,
Typically, not 11. 11.
but, in a real strategic spot, a sign that just points the direction for those two houses, it looks like both of them are hidden beyond, what anyone would consider the layout of this particular road, Williams Court. So, a good Samaritan effort to make the sign and then install the sign. If we're not gonna get the DPW to do it, then, maybe the Lions Club will do it.
Just to expand on Director Cashel, I did email Cheryl Scott's niece, and I told her if she was to take and purchase a sign online, maybe she could hire a handyman or have a friend or family install that. I guess my concern is you can't just take, a garden stake and put it at the end of Williams Court, because we all know, come winter, the DPW trucks are gonna push the snow right to the end, and they're gonna stockpile it. They will bend that sign over the first snow, and it'll be lost. So it kinda has to be strategically placed, and it has to be positioned so that in case of snow and snow plowing, it doesn't just get, trampled and buried and end up in the woods. That's the problem with that. And again, I was kinda hoping the DPW would be able to, install some sort of a signpost down there so it could be affixed, so it stands out as opposed to, a stick in the ground.
Okay, do we have, do you want to put something in a motion so we can address it?
At this point, if the DPW is not willing to do anything, I think we just table the matter,
If you table it, it's the next meeting, do you want to place it on file?
place it on file. I'll make a motion to place this matter on file.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's passed.
Mr. Chairman.
Next item,
Can I just mention, somewhere along the line, the city issued building permits, I would assume, for these two houses, right? So it's up to the municipality to make sure that all houses, are accessible, for one thing, but identifiable. You just can't have houses with people living in them, hidden out in the woods, and, emergency services can't find them, whatever. So, there's gotta be some solution to this, that, this person's getting their deliveries. what does end up happening with the Amazons and, you know, all the major carriers, they eventually find where they're supposed to make their deliveries. You know, there's a lot of communication going on with people that are recipients not getting their packages. You know, eventually this will probably work itself out, you know, over time, and they'll get all the deliveries, but in the meantime, you know, really it's a municipal responsibility.
And that's kind of how I felt.
You want, I'm sorry, you place this matter on file. Do you want to pull it back up so you can talk about it more? Once you
No,
place
I
something
just-
on file, it's
I just
filed
wanted to-
away.
I just wanted
No,
to
that's
make
fine.
that
He's
comment.
got a good, he brings up a good point, though. I agree with him as far as that goes. If
Can
emergency
we pull it out
services-
of file?
Can you make a motion to do that, please?
I'll make a motion to take it off file.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. So,
Approved.
just to let you know, in 1910, the house was built at 11 Williams Court. 2008, it was resold. I expressed these concerns through my email with Shara and said, you know, it should have never been allowed, one, to be built without a recognizable road or egress to that dwelling. And then to have it resold in 2008, same matter, same problem, especially now. The problem is with that area, it's pretty tight. I have been down there with Commissioner Quinn. We did a site inspection. He did talk to the property owner of 9 Williams Court and asked him to clean it up and remove a lot of the materials that were laying around to get proper, you know, vehicles in and out of there without backing into anything or getting stuck in there. The homeowner did agree to that. That's a matter I'll have to take up with Commissioner Quinn again to see where he's at with that progress, whatever progress might be made. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. It should have never been allowed to be built in there without some sort of a proper road access to get in there.
But that's going back so far. There are
Yeah, it's-
outlying situations like that.
But in
that still-
2008, it should have probably been brought up again through the attorneys making the sale or whatever and saying, this is a bone of contention.
Can we at least make sure that whoever's plowing that neighborhood for the city doesn't push all the snow up against that egress, that right of way? So,
and
you know,
that's
the emergency vehicle has to get in,
That's right.
and the road hasn't been plowed yet.
And it really is pretty tight. My concern is because it's such a tight area, I'd be hard pressed to think that an Amazon van could even get in there, if not, and that's my worry. My fear is Rescue 1 or even Engine 2. Engine 2 would never be able to get in there as it is. Especially now with all, you know, the leaves on the trees. Maybe come fall or late winter when everything's off the trees and the branches go up a little, but during a heavy ice storm or whatever, it gets pretty tight in there. Very tight. Thank you.
Okay, so anyone else want to speak on this?
Just looking at the layout of the property lines, the sign would almost have to be on private property, Lou, would you think? At that last house at the end?
Sir, it's a dead end down there, and there's kind of a path right at the end of Williams Court, so I gotta be honest with you, I don't even know, a signpost would have to be erected.
But it would be on somebody else's property. It wouldn't be on 9. It would have to be almost on the very last house on the left.
I'm not sure if 9 owns it, because if you look at the property area,
Yeah.
it doesn't show that it goes right up against Williams Court where the sign would have to be placed. I don't know if 5 Williams Court owns that parcel.
By the assessor's line, it looks like it does.
Or if the end of Williams Court, it looks like right there where the arrow is, cursor, that looks like that's ours.
Can I just mention?
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm looking at this thing. You don't want to put any signage here. That's where the snow's
No,
going to
no.
plow.
Can you speak into can you
Yeah.
give him your
Yeah,
microphone?
if you put the sign right there, it's before you end at the roadway. You just have the sign point in that direction. That's where you have to go to deliver for 9 and 11.
Yeah,
It's out of the way of the plow trucks.
Can you please speak into the microphone? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So I'm just suggesting the location
Thank you.
be on the ingress lane of Williams Lane at the end of it, and on the right-hand side. And that would be where a driver would typically look for signage if they're looking for some type of address to a property. So if you had 9 and 11 with an arrow pointing in the right direction towards the houses, they'd have a chance of
And
finding
it's gonna be on city property, so the city would be responsible for putting it up. That's the thinking?
No, I'm not, you know, if we're not gonna get the city's cooperation in that regard, you could actually put that sign up, you know, within the right of way. It's just a directional sign. It's not gonna interfere with any, you know, traffic operations or,
All right.
you know, any field work.
But are you suggesting that the city put the sign up there?
That would be the most preferable scenario, but, you know, we're not going to get the cooperation of the DPW then just to have, you know, a good Samaritan effort be established and
Right.
put up.
Okay.
We do have a lot of service organizations that like to do good Samaritan work, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, can we put that into a motion?
So we're gonna have to leave the matter, put the matter on file. I make the motion to put it on file, and I will follow up with the DPW director and superintendent to see what we can do, what he will allow a Good Samaritan to do.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Next item on the agenda is a request for school signage near 288 Mishawam Road related to city council special permit. I believe the petitioner is here.
Can you state your name, please, and address?
Sure. My name is Larry Beals. I'm with Beals Associates. Our office is at 2 Park Plaza in Boston. And the address that I'm here to speak about is 286 Mishawam Road. It was formerly a Chinese restaurant. People probably are familiar with it. It had the big pagoda on top of it, so it's quite distinctive. We worked for the past year with the owner of the property and with Bright Path Childcare to redesign and reuse that facility for a childcare facility. We worked with the Conservation Commission and with the City Council, and the City Council issued a special permit. And there was one condition in the special permit, which brings me here tonight, that a warning sign be placed in either direction signifying that a driver on Mishawam Road is approaching a school area, so they're aware of the fact that there are school children. The children going to this facility are young, and they'll be dropped off by their parents or care providers in the back of the building and enter through the back of the building. But as a precaution, the City Council thought it was appropriate to put signs out on Mishawam, making drivers aware of that. So we're proposing in 2 locations. This plan, I believe you've all seen it. So we're on the right-hand side before the driveway into the development next door, exactly there. There's a utility pole. And we look closely at that about should we put our own pole in the sidewalk to hold that sign, or should we put the sign on the utility pole? And it's fairly tight already, and in our view, it made more sense to put the sign right on the utility pole. And likewise, on the left-hand side, there's a proposal to put a sign on that utility pole also. We provided, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a detail of the school zone signage that we're proposing. And we did check other places in town to see if similar school signs had been placed on utility poles, and they have. So that's the proposal, and we'd like to, the special permit did have a condition that it's, the request was by the City Council to do this, subject to approval by this Traffic Commission. So that's why we're here. I can answer any questions that anybody may have.
Chair Papalato?
Yes.
2 things. I forget who asked me. Someone asked me to see if it was a school zone. It is not a school zone. I'm sorry, I forget who asked me that question. And then 2, would you like me to read the DPW's comments on this?
Yes, please.
228 Mishawam Road street signs will require field review and possibly a Mass DOT permit. Location should be marked on the ground and the exact language and sizes of the sign provided. Thank you.
So that came from the superintendent, Duran. So, Mr. DeMambro?
Through the chair to Greg. I thought utility companies frowned upon
I think they do. I think you may.
putting
need a
any type of
license
traffic
or
sign
agreement
on a
with the
utility pole.
company owner Of that pole.
Yeah.
We don't own the poles, we don't.
Right, those are the
No,
utility
we don't
companies'
own
poles, and they frown upon that. I know that.
Yes. Correct.
So, that being said, there would have to be signposts installed if this should go through. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, Lindsay, you said something about it's not a school zone,
It's not a,
and we know that, right?
yeah,
So, was it, at the city council meeting, was there any mention of what type of signage? Because it's not a school zone, so you wouldn't be able to put up school zone sign.
Right. It specifically referenced that sign that we have, the detail of. So the sign in the upper left-hand corner is the sign that we're proposing.
Okay, like a pedestrian
Yes.
type of sign? Got it.
Okay, so what is the will of the board on this one?
I would like to review it a little bit more in detail. We have a daycare right across the street from my home. I believe, I really don't, I didn't even notice it, but I think there's a school zone sign posted on the telephone pole in front of my house. But I'm not positive. I know there's a sign posted there. But how does the city handle daycare facilities when it comes to school zones? And we all know you have to travel at 20 miles an hour in school zones. Am I correct? When the flashing lights are going, that's the
That-
speed.
Yeah, that's correct, but that wouldn't be the case for this particular building. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
can't-
signage is
I
a good
can't
idea.
I can't imagine traffic over there, other than when it's congested and backed up and not moving, going 20 miles an hour. You have 4 lanes of travel over there and travel it almost daily and, traveling anywhere. You see vehicles traveling anywhere from 40 to 50, 35, but to slow all that traffic down, that volume of traffic down to 20 miles an hour, I just don't see it happening. If anything, what's that?
I said that's not the,
Yeah, I don't believe that, sorry.
No,
I just wanted to make sure I stated that on the record for you guys,
Right.
because someone asked me.
I mean, it's not the most ideal location for a daycare facility. It's not really an ideal location for a lot of things over there. There's people that conduct businesses and have to deal with congested traffic. But that being said, the daycare in front of my house, I voiced my objections to it and how it was designed and whatnot. It's there, it functions, the one ingress egress is directly across the street from a driveway, a shared driveway for homes, and, we all do our thing, come and go, and that's the way it is. And in that particular case, that particular use on that busy corridor,
Mr. DeMambro?
What if there was a sign that says, "Pass with care"? Instead of, if it's not a school, I mean, I just did a quick Google search, and I see signs that say, "Pass with care." They're white signs with black lettering, with a black border going around it. I'm sure it has the reflective paint on the board. What about something like that? Craig, is there rules against having a sign on either direction that say "Pass with care"?
You can put any sign out as long as it meets MUTCD.
At least there's some sort of warning
Yeah,
that it's a congested area with traffic merging.
Traffic turning ahead or something like that.
I think their big issue is putting it on the utility poles without, I think you need to speak with the utility company for permission. A license.
So one thing I'd like, this is not our idea. We were requested
I
to put the
understand.
sign up.
I understand.
And there is the special condition does say, subject to approval by this. So I would suspect that if this commission believes it's not a good idea, we could forego putting up those signs.
But
And-
I just want to speak on that. I think the signs are a good idea, and if it's already the suggestion, I got the same impression it was the city council recommending to you to come to us for the signage,
Right.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we do approve the signage, and perhaps table it to the next meeting just to get the final location of the sign.
I'll second that.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, it's passed. So we'll bring that back to the next meeting.
So for the next meeting, I should meet with the DPW and get their sign off, or what is the expectation that I come back with?
I think it's a review, Superintendent Duran will be reviewing this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, you might get permission to put the sign on the poles. But other than that, you'll have to get the stanchions and prepare to install them. That's part of the conditions of approval for the use.
Okay,
And I think for us, you go out there and make arrangements with the DPW staff, where they want these signs located, then, we can put this thing to rest.
okay.
We're here just this evening, not on the site, making a decision that I don't think any of us are really comfortable with this. This is the ideal location for the signs. We're not in that position right now to do that.
Yep,
A site visit, if we were to do that, then we'd have the information, we'd be able to make that judgment call. Unless anybody has familiarity enough with the site, and you know where you want these, you can make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second on that?
So I have a question. So procedurally, you made a motion to approve, he gave specific location. Are you approving that location?
I'm approving the signage, but not the location.
Thank you
Only-
for clarifying.
Only because we do not know, he asked for the telephone pole, and we can't approve it based on a private company's,
No, I wanted to clarify that, because thank you.
So I would maybe suggest to the petitioner to reach out to the, to Eversource, so if it's Verizon, whoever owns the telephone pole that you're interested in installing on, see if you can get some type of letter saying that they'll allow it, and that might put an end to the whole.
Eversource owns the poles. They're the owners.
Oh, okay.
so the suggestion of putting on a pole was not us trying to be cheap or economical.
Oh.
It seemed to make a lot of sense at that particular location, but I understand your position that we should have a letter of permission for that.
The only thing to caution on, put them on the pole is when they do work on the poles, if the poles hit the sign, seem to disappear and never go back. So if it's on
Yeah.
your own private pole,
Right,
it's probably more likely to be there permanently.
yeah. Okay.
And I just want to ask the chair, through the chair. Chairman Papalato?
Oh, yes, sir.
Lindsay, in the reference of what Mr. Superintendent Duran's notes were on this matter, did he reference Mass DOT?
Yes.
Did. He said it might need a Mass DOT permit.
Okay, so you're probably going to have to look into, sir, District 4, Mass DOT, and get their opinion on this as well, per Superintendent Duran's recommendation.
I don't think I've seen that comment letter. Is that available online? The DPW letter?
I believe he just sent an
DPW,
email.
it was just an email he sent to myself and the chair
Okay,
and one other person.
Based on
I
his
I can forward it on to you, though, if you'd like.
that'd be terrific.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Okay. Is there anything else we can help you out with?
I have a lot of problems, but nothing you can fix.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is a request for blind drive sign on Main Street near Buell Place.
Okay,
Would
so
you like me to read the comment from
Yep, go
DPW,
ahead.
or do you want to wait?
Go ahead, I can give some background information, but go ahead and read the comment.
Okay, I recommend that the property owners of Buell Place address the signage issue on private property as well. They could add signage if allowed by ISD, and also paint their driveway entrance yellow a distance of 6 to 10 feet to warn their existing drivers. The city of Woburn is going to provide a traffic control device in Main Street near this location as well for assessment in the next few weeks. We could revisit this after a period of 6 months if this remains a concern.
Okay, so I'll give you a little background on what's happened. Both of the, there's two buildings that reside on either side of Buell Place, and both of the owners are sitting in the managers are sitting in this room. They've been extremely cooperative to come up with a plan to do this. We had an incident there maybe a couple months back, and fortunately, there wasn't any injuries or anything, but it's an injury spot waiting to happen. So I've walked the site with them a couple of times. We've come up with some suggestions on what to do. I would ask that both of the parties come to the mic and let us know who you are and what property you own and what your recommendation is.
Hi, Stan Malvarosa. My family owns the building at 327, 331 Main.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you brought it to our attention that there's a possible issue there, and you've asked for our cooperation, and we're willing to do whatever you think needs to be done. The only problem is, since it's such a narrow space, if you try to do anything between the buildings, I'm not sure that to be easily recognizable by pedestrians. And I think that would be more of the concern than the vehicles coming out. We can put signs at the back of the buildings for the vehicles coming down to warn them of pedestrians. But I think something should be done at the sidewalk for pedestrians to recognize that that's actually a driveway.
All right. Go ahead.
Nikolai Bertromowitz for 315 Main Street, my family owns. I agree with that. I think you have to do some, for the pedestrians walking by, that's an active crossway. There's, I mean, a crossway, but a pathway for the cars. And also, too, you know, if we're going to put they want us to put the yellow 5 to 10 feet, no one's going to see it between the two buildings, as they mentioned, so.
So several suggestions have been put forth by you guys, actually, and a couple of them is putting signage on each of the buildings behind there coming down towards Main Street. And another suggestion was potentially for a mirror to be installed there. I don't know where you are with all that. Another suggestion was to paint part of that street, the first, you know, I don't know, 8 or 10 feet out, leading up to Main Street to alert the traffic coming through. And then I do know what has happened also is there's a pedestrian crossing sign that's going to go out in the middle of that crosswalk there. So that's happening. I think it's scheduled to happen this week. So I think that will also help with the situation. And I think what Superintendent Duran is requesting is if we're amenable to doing those things that I just mentioned, we take a checkpoint in 6 months, evaluate where it is, and if more has to get put out there, then that's what we'll do. So, I let you guys speak.
So just to address the mirror situation, if you have to put a mirror, it's going to have to go up pretty high because the trash trucks that go up there are pretty big. So when they're backing into that alleyway, you can't have it so it's low enough that it's going to be hit because they'll just rip it off the building.
Right.
They're big. They pretty much take up the whole alleyway going up. So again, I think if they maybe painted lines across the sidewalk on a diagonal or something to that effect, that makes pedestrians aware of the fact that it's something different there, they'll look maybe a little bit more, noticeable to them, that they can see that something different is happening.
Nick?
Yeah, I agree with that too. And if you want to do a mirror, I mean, I do have the height of my building, so I'm willing to install one there, if it's reasonable. And if I can do it and without who can install it and, if I need a detail or not type of deal.
Right.
And also too, I mean, also willing to on the top, at the end of the building, there was a suggestion that we slow down too.
Right. you had mentioned that. So, I mean, I think maybe we can, and it's up to you, it's private property, you're gonna have to decide what you'll be willing to do there. But signage is definitely number one. And then secondly, a slow down or a painting of that area. We're gonna put this pedestrian crossing is gonna go out there, and then we evaluate where we are and figure out if there's more that needs to be done inside the city or on your side of the ledger. So is that kind of where we landed?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. So let's open it up to the board for discussion. Is any?
Council
wanted-
Paparato, I just have a question of procedure. The request was for a blind driveway sign. Should it be something else? You told me blind driveway. Is it something else, not blind driveway?
I don't think, as we discussed it, we weren't settled on what it should say, because it's coming towards Main Street.
Okay, the request is just for blind driveway. If it's changes, just let me know so that we can
Yeah.
put the right motion in.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the issue is, a blind driveway. It's more, there's a crosswalk coming in front of you, right? That's really, I don't know what the right verbiage is. Maybe you could help us with that.
I mean, a blind driveway sign would work if that's the request. I mean,
The request is actually from the
that's
chair.
specific, that's a specific request. I think that's what Lindsay's getting at there. And you're asking for several other things, so. But while I have you air, the mirror is something we probably want to speak with the solicitor on. I know in the past, Lindsay, you would recall
So
this.
this is, from what I understand, and please, Chair, step in, a lot of the matters he was just speaking of is going to be a private situation where
With the private
where
property.
the two building owners, I think that's what discussion, what can be done here is signage on the by the right-of-way, the sidewalk area for the
Right,
city
right.
side of things.
Right. I'm just not sure. I know that we've voted down mirrors in the past for liability reasons and I believe insurance reasons, so I'm not sure. We wouldn't be approving a mirror, is my point. That's the private property situation.
I think a mirror that had to go that high wouldn't be effective anyway for the drivers coming out. They're not gonna look up that high.
I mean, probably overthinking. I think the blind driveway sign is probably a good starting point, maybe even sufficient.
Chairman Papalano?
And maybe some paint on that area there that's alerting people coming down the driveway.
Paint on their side or the city side?
On the private property
Okay, yeah,
side.
okay.
Chairman Papalano?
Yes, sir.
If the sign that's being requested, blind driveway, there is a street sign right there on the sidewalk. You could potentially put blind driveway signs on both sides, sandwich that pole that's right there, sandwich the sign one on each side for the pedestrians, just keep it high enough so nobody doesn't,
And I
hit-
did
hit
bring
their
that
head
up
on
with
it.
Superintendent Duran, and he's reluctant to want to do anything there at this point until we get the other components in place, and then after we revisit, then that becomes an option if necessary.
Just thinking a little bit outside the box, as a suggestion. How about putting crosswalk painting on that sidewalk in front of Buell Place?
Putting, what was that? I'm sorry.
A crosswalk painting on the sidewalk in front of Buell Place.
That was brought up, and again, it was let's wait and see what happens with these other improvements, and then maybe go to that next.
You know, when I look at this, I mean, urban drivers know when they come to something like this, they're coming to and from. They basically have to inch their way out onto that sidewalk. I mean, the last thing any driver, most 99.9% want to do is ever bump into a pedestrian. So, I mean, if you're driving and you're not sensible enough to be inching your way out into a blind situation like that, you're crazy. So, that's the situation you're dealing with. Yeah, there can be accidents, and there's been a serious accident, a very serious accident years ago there. Accidents do happen, but, everyday drivers realize that when you come to a situation like that, you just have to inch your way out. We have the same situation right across from Everett Street It goes up into the Magazine Hill area. It's a blind driveway. You can drive in and out of there, and a lot of people do. You just gotta be very careful when you're doing it. There's another
And
location
the
just like that.
thinking is if there's some kind of paint or striping or whatever you suggested that's happening in this general area, that should help the traffic that's coming towards Main Street.
A mirror strategically placed would really help out. I mean, it would be wonderful to be able to see if pedestrians are walking along the sidewalk.
Something up higher here, right? Is that right, Stan?
Yeah, but it would have to be at the corner there of the building on Main Street, so, that's, I'm willing to do something like that for safety, but, can't really inconvenience me a whole lot either,
Right.
but I'm willing to do it. And I just think one thing here with people coming from the coffee shop or the other side of Main Street, they walk, coming in and out of there all the time, they're just oblivious. They don't pay attention. That's why I think where the lines or the crosswalk would be very important for those people. At least they'll be aware there's traffic there. But around that corner, they're not gonna look, and they don't look. They're sipping on their coffees or whatever.
And ultimately, it's always the responsibility of who's behind the wheel. And it's just a very.
No, I agree, but they're not being cautious either, so,
They have to be. They're the ones gonna be responsible for any injuries.
Yes, sir.
I think that John's idea, I was thinking about it myself earlier, is where the sidewalk is in front of the driveway, like maybe a yellow diagonal.
On the sidewalk?
Yes, yellow diagonal.
That was discussed
painted on it,
and
just so
rejected
everybody
for
will
now.
know, people coming in, going out, and pedestrians will see it. You know how they put it down, they do a check with the diagonals?
Yeah.
Just-
And that was rejected. And the other thing is what Mr. DeMambro brought up around putting some signage on here, and that was, let's evaluate and then get to that next. I wish Jay was here so we could speak to it, but that was his,
But we did have a pedestrian killed years ago, pretty bad,
Right.
with a trash truck
Yep.
in that driveway.
and a recent situation that caused this to get on the agenda was a near miss. So thankfully, it was a near miss and we didn't have that problem, but, so the sooner we can get something done here, the better off we are. And then we can reevaluate and we can go back and do more if necessary.
Mr. Chair, who's actually the owner of Buell Place?
They say it's a right-of-way. The city used to take care of that.
I know, but I think it's private. Matt, can you get the assessor's map? Because I don't know if we can ask anybody to paint on something we don't own.
We're
No.
not painting it, they're gonna have to paint it.
If we're painting inside the alleyway, it would be us, but we're saying the sidewalk, and that would be the city.
Yeah.
And if you're going to the signage on the Buell Place sign, I think that's kind of far away from Buell Place, from where they put it. It used to be on the other side of the driveway. They moved it and put it on that side, but they kind of put it too far away that you don't really recognize it, that's where the street is. It might need to be put a little bit closer.
Okay, so your lot line is right in the middle, so you both own part of it.
And Peterson's building has a right-of-way up there.
Yep.
And I think, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but, there's a kind of dividing line right down that street, right?
Yes.
Down Buell Place, and Stan, you have responsibility for this building, and, excuse me, Nick, you have responsibility here, and I think that, Stan, that's where the coffee shop is, over on that side.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you can see there's a space on the back of each building where we could put a sign, slow down pedestrians crossing, to warn people coming out of there. We could put like I said, our building goes a little bit in, so if we put one there and there's one on Nick's building a little further back, they'll at least be warned. They'll be hit with two signs coming down the alley. They'll be able to at least recognize that they should be going slow, we hope.
Could I offer another suggestion? Maybe a stop line at the back of the sidewalk with a,
There used to
with
be
the
a
word
stop.
stop
The
painted on
city
the
had
road.
painted that years ago.
Okay, that would probably let a driver know gonna see that stop sign and that stop painting in that line.
Okay. So, I'm not exactly sure how to put this in a form of a motion, because we're not asking anyone to do anything here. At this point, it's the private property, you guys have agreed to do what you've agreed to do. And then, the pedestrian crossing that's going out into that area is a first step, and then we'll do some evaluation and figure out if more needs to happen. So I'm not sure what kind of motion would need to get that done.
I would put forward a motion, as a suggestion. Try to figure out the best solution that can be implemented, and we'll see how it works out. If it needs to be further improved, we'll agree to work with you on that. But it's not public property.
Right.
I'm sorry, the motion needs to be something the city side can do, you can't motion them to do something.
I know, but,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'm just throwing this out to move it in the
Okay, so it wasn't-
direction
okay.
of a motion that we can derive at from this discussion.
Right.
How about the traffic commission? I move that the traffic commission does not object to the proposal of the applicant to try to implement safety improvements at the Buell Court intersection with Main Street. Anybody want to add to that or amend it?
Do we want to add signage
I
and?
think we're overthinking the whole, the private property issue is the business owners are more than happy to do their part, and that, we appreciate that, and I would say, do it. Then the issue for us is the pedestrians. And I like the idea of the blind driveway sign. It's a simple solution. It alerts pedestrians. It may not be a fail-safe 100%, but it's something. And then we have the other stuff that's going on with the sign and the crosswalk, and I'm not quite sure how that's gonna really help that matter, but to be honest with you. But that's going in the middle of the street, the pedestrian crossing sign.
John, you're probably more familiar with the exact location of it.
Yeah, it's, what we're proposing to do, we don't want to interfere with any traffic movements out there, so you have left-hand turns and right-hand turns going on, so we're trying to place these pedestrian stanchions. They're heavy rubber-based stanchions. They're not gonna be mounted to the street. They're gonna be movable, but we're gonna put them along the double yellow line. We have 6 locations throughout downtown, but outside of the crosswalk itself, and along the double yellow lines. And the location for this area here is going to be a little bit further down, going south along Main Street. But the whole idea is just to alert people that pedestrians are crossing. They illuminate at night with reflective paint. So, see, if we're trying to create a safer, user-friendly, pedestrian user-friendly environment downtown, and this is the first step in that direction. You're gonna see how these signs work out, and one of them will be in this vicinity here. So, they're gonna be going out, in all likelihood, tomorrow or Monday.
Okay.
So, we're moving on that.
All right. So,
So for this
I'm gonna make a motion.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the blind driveway sign contingent upon DPW's location request of the signage.
Second.
Simple.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. That passes. Okay. So I think we're as good as we can be on this topic. You have your to-dos and the city has their to-dos here, so we'll do a reassessment of this and be back in contact with whatever next steps are. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for coming and for your willingness to address this.
Thank you.
Our concern
There
is
is nothing else on the
pedestrians
agenda.
walking just right across that pathway.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We
504.
adjourn. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Pedestrians aren't that unfamiliar with that driveway, need to be alerted to it. That's up to them.
I think you have some unaware drivers and pedestrians.
No, I know, but that's the driver part of it is.
Police and fire, they deal with it every day.
Yeah.